Hey everybody, good morning. Hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend so far. It's a little rainy and dreary here. Decided since I had some feedback and people asking about replay baseball, decided to go ahead and bring that back out and give that another whirl. This is a game I've kind of taken a liking to because of the fact that it does use both the pitcher card and the batter card at the same time, which is something that APA and Strat don't do, but that's just the game engine, the way it works. So in this game, I just picked a random game. I didn't really have any set replays going on or anything like that, so I just happened to pick a random game out of the set and have chosen to go back in time to 1975. And we're going to go to Municipal Stadium, Old Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, for this ball game between the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Indians. And your starting pitchers for today's game for the Indians will be Dennis Eckersley. And for the White Sox will be knuckleballer Wilbur Wood. So we'll move this out of the way and get this all set up. That's our game board that we will be using with Replay Baseball. That's where all the results will come from. And I will read those off as they occur. Also have the old-fashioned flip book, but I really like this setup of the board more so than the other. So we'll go ahead and get going here. Welcome to everybody that's here, or those that are here, I should say. And I do have the also that came with the board book out there. We have the section for the action chart and the automated third base coach as well. And also have a little cheat sheet that I was able to acquire. So it's got all the ratings already printed on here defensively, so I don't have to fill them in on the score sheet. I can just refer to those as they come up. And we are just about ready to go as I'm allowed and go through the starting lineups for each team just to kind of get everybody set. So facing Dennis Eckersley will be the Chicago White Sox. Pat Kelly will lead things off in right field. George at second base, playing and batting second. Carlos May is at first base, hitting third. Darren Johnson, the DH, will bat up. Hitting fifth in center field is Ken Henderson. Field is Niles Nyman. Batting eighth, shortstop, Bucky Dent. This is before he became Bucky Bleeping Dent. And catching is Brian Downing. For the Cleveland Indians will be Kuiper at second base. Batting second will be third baseman. Batting third will be right fielder George Hendrick. Batting cleanup will be first baseman Boog Powell. Batting fifth, DH, player manager Frank Robinson. Hitting sixth, playing right field, Charlie Spikes. Batting seventh in left field, Ken Berry. Batting eighth, catching, Alan Ashby. And batting ninth, shortstop, Frank Duffy. So we're ready to go. I'll go ahead and give a review of the game rules very quickly for those white and blue, and you read them in that order. The red die tells you, let's get the batter out here, in the color red to remind you that the red die refers to the columns. The white die will tell you which on the batter card to check on and cross-reference. The blue die tells you which row on the pitcher card to reference. Hey, Al, Red Sox fan, how you doing? And if you notice on Dennis Eckersley, this is one of those split cards where he did much better against splits. So if we roll a 1 or a 2 on the blue die, we're going to be looking at this column against righties. If he rolls a 1 or 2 against lefty, then we'll go down here. And there's not a whole lot of difference until you get way down here, like in column 6. Mr. Utah Mike, this is not the demolition game. 75. I'm not sure what year the demolition game. I'm assuming that was 79 because I was going. But as you can see, like Eckersley here, the low numbers on the pitch card are always better. It's always better to have low numbers than high numbers on pitch cards. can see against a 6-6, that's a 2, where it's a 4, and that could be between a home run and a single. So that's why they have the splits there. He did much better against right-handed batting than left-handed batting. So he will have splits there. So let's assume this was the first roll, just for demonstration purposes. It's a 1 red. So that means we're the batter card and the pitcher card. The 6 means we're on column row 6 Kuiper. So row 6, column 1 would be a 45. So he brings that to the table. The blue die is a 5, and since Eckersley's facing a lefty batter, we would be down here. So a 1 and a, if he were facing a righty, it would be a 1. Facing a lefty, it's a 2. We add the 2 to the 45 that comes with Duane Kuiper to come up with a total of 47 in column 1. If we look at column 1, each of these things are in column 1. It's kind of hard to get them in the picture. But column 1, a 47, would be a strikeout with the bases empty. If there's a runner on first and the infield is a double play depth, there'd be a comeback to the pitcher. But that's the way that would go. That's just an example of the. I think what I'm going to do for expediency purposes is going to be too cumbersome to keep bringing this playboard down in front. So what I'm going to end up doing, I do believe, is I'm going to need to show the dice roll and the cards, and then just read what's on the board. So that's what I will do. So we'll get going here. This thing keeps saying on my side, it keeps not affecting the video or this. Hopefully everything's still smooth. Here we go. It's Pat Kelly. He will lead things off here against Eckersley. So I'm sorry, it's 6-3-4. I got to keep myself straight. They are. You look at those in red, white, and blue order. That's the order you read them. So we're in column 6 on both the pitcher and the batter, and it's a 3 for the batter. So column 6, right here in row 3, that's a 31 for Pat Kelly. 31 for Pat. That column 6, we are here on the left-hand side. Left-hand side. So the number 4 here is going to talk about number 2. Column 6, 2. So we have a 2 there, and Kelly was a 31 in column 6. And a 33 in column 6 is a pop-up to the second baseman. So Kelly got under one, pops it up to Kuiper, and there's one away. And I won't go that slow anymore. I just wanted to do that as a example for people to follow in case they are not familiar with the game. But if I did that for every at-bat, this video would be 2 hours long. So let's get going here. 1 out, George Orta, the batter. It's a 6-4-2. 6-4 for Orta is a split chance. You see here, Orta, that's another one of the split chances. If he's facing a lefty, he would get a 6. If he's facing a righty, he gets a 60. A 6 is almost a guaranteed hit. So that's where the left-right can come in this game. So it's 6-4, he gets a 60. Eckersley against the lefty, so that's a 1. So that's a total of 61 in column 6. And a 61 in column 6 is a double into the corner. So George Orta with a double. That would have been a single had he been facing a lefty. So the double, he would have got a hit either way, but the facing a righty gave him the extra base hit. So George Orta is on second base with 1 out for Carlos May. He is the brother of Lee May. And we've got all 5s. So Carlos May, a 5-5, is a 20. Eckersley against a left-handed batter on a 5 here. 5-5 is a 5. So we get a 20 and a 5 for a total of 25 in column 5. And that's a base on balls. A lot of your walks will come in column 5. So we got runners at first and second with 1 out for Darren Johnson, the designated hitter. He is a righty, so this time we will be in the pink area for Eckersley. It's a 2-1-5. So a 2-1 for Darren Johnson is a 42. And a 2-5 Eckersley against a righty is a 1. That's a total of 43 in column number 2. And a 43 in column number 2 is a ground out pitcher to first. Runners advance 1 base. So the runners will advance on a 1-3 ground out for out number 2, but the runners do move up to second and third. And it says on the chart that that would be a 1-game injury going forward. It doesn't, if I'm understanding the rules correctly, you don't enforce the injury in this game. You start it with the next game. So Darren Johnson will miss the next game if we were doing a season replay, but this is just a one-off game, so I'm not really responding to injuries. But that would have been an injury, and that's how injuries come into play, is in column 2. All right, that brings up Ken Henderson, the center fielder. He is a switch hitter batting left. 2-2-3 for Henderson. So a 2-2 for Henderson. 2-2 is a 55, and this talks about outfielder's ability to come in, grab a sinking line drive. Had we been using it in the shaded area, this change, but since it's up here in the white area, that number 3 regardless. So now we have to figure out which infielder is involved, and that's a blue 3. So if we go to column number 2 and look at the sinking liner, the number 3 die references the center fielder. So the center fielder for the Indians is none other than George Hendrick. So George Hendrick, I think I said he was in right field by mistake. I had 2 right fielders listed. Obviously, that's incorrect. George Hendrick is the center fielder, and George Hendrick is a 3-rated center fielder. Now, if you look at Henderson's results, we had a raised number 3, so they're the same. They're not more than that. The only way he can make the catch is if his defensive rating is higher than that raised number. It was not, so that means it drops in for a base hit, and ball falls. Runners advance 1 base, 2 bases if their speed is higher than the outfielder's arm, or with 2 outs. In this case, there were 2 outs, so it's an automatic 2-base advancement. So Ken Henderson drops one in. It's a 2-run single, and the White Sox lead it by the score of 2-0 because George Hendrick needed a 4 or 5 rating to catch that. He only had a 3 rating, so it didn't happen. That'll bring up Bill Melton. And Mark, since you're really efficient at this game, it seems like, if I make a mistake, please let me know so that I can fix it. Here's Bill Melton, the third baseman. It's a 4-1-2. Now, the red 4 usually tends to fielding plays. So we got a 4-1. 4-1 is a 2. And a 4-2 for Eckersley references the shortstop, in this case, Frank Duffy. Frank Duffy's defensive rating, if we go to the sheet here, Frank Duffy's defensive rating is a 1. So we replace that with second base or shortstop spot with the number 1. We add it to the 2 from Melton for a total of 3, and a 3 in column 4 is simply going to be a ground ball to short, and the inning is over. But the White Sox do take a 2-0 lead after 1. And now Wilbur Wood, the knuckleballing lefty, is up to pitch, and he will be facing Dwayne Kuiper to lead things off. Maybe I'll leave the pitcher card here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but maybe that's a better way to do it instead of swapping so many times. We'll see if that can work. Maybe I'll bring this a little closer. Maybe I can work it this way. Well, I'm trying all kinds of stuff here. Let's see if I can do this and see if that helps. If you guys can see that or can't see that, let me know. Hopefully that will work out better than me swapping the cards back and forth and making everybody dizzy. So hopefully that works. We'll see. Here's the first, or the pitch is 6-3-5. So Wilbur Wood, a 6-3 is a 2. I'm sorry, a 6-5 is a 3. The 3 is for the batter card. 6-3 is a 31. So we've got a 31 and a 3. That's a total of 34 in column 6, which is a fly ball to center field. So Dwayne Kuiper flies out for out number 1, and that brings up Buddy Bell, the third baseman. Hopefully this works better for you guys. Still a work in progress on this videoing here. All right, here's Buddy Bell. Buddy Bell, it's a 2-1-2. So Buddy Bell, a 2-1 is a 43, and a 2-2 for Wilbur Wood is a 3. That's a 46 in column number 2. And that's a ground ball to short. This time no injury would be involved if we were playing injuries. They skipped that. So 2 up, 2 down brings up center fielder George Hendrick as I'm dropping my dice. George Hendrick a center fielder. I had him misrepresented as a right fielder at one point, but he is a center fielder. It got blurry on me. There we go. All right, here is Hendrick. And that's a 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. So 1, 2 is a 35. And a 1, 4 is a 3. That's a total of 38 in column number 1. And that is a ground ball to third. So Wilbur Wood gets through the after 1 complete. After 1 complete, it is 2-0 in favor of the White Sox. And that will send up Dennis Eckersley back to the mound. So the Eck, back when he was a starter, in fact, this was his rookie season, started 24 games, relieved in 10. So he did a little bit of both, even back then in 1975. All right, Niles Nyman, the lefty, will lead things off. And we get a 3-5-6. So for Niles Nyman, a 3-5 is a number 3. And a 3-6 for Eckersley against a lefty. A 3-6 is a 2. It's a 2. So we have a 3. We have a 2. That's a total of 5 in column 3. And a 5 in column 3 is a fly out to left field for out number 1. Mark, I agree. Payoff pitch and replay both do a great job where the pitcher is involved in every single at-bat. That's the only games that have that. Status Pro, APA, and Stratomatic don't have that feature. Of course, neither does History Maker. I'm sorry. There are some spots where History Maker does not let the pitcher take an effect as well. So we'll see how that goes. All right, here's Bucky Dent. This is before he was Bucky Bleeping Dent. This is back when he was just plain old Bucky Dent. So it's 2-4-3. So for Bucky, 2-4 is a 16. And for Eckersley, a 2-3 against a righty is a 1. So that's a 1 and a 16. That's a total of 17 in column 2. And a 17 in column 2 is a strikeout with the bases empty. So that's out number 2. And that'll bring up the number 9 here, the catcher, Brian Downing. So Brian Downing steps up with 2 outs and the bases empty against Eckersley. You get a 5-1-3 for Eckersley. 5-1 for Downing is a 5. And again, 5 is where you have a lot of walks. So the 5 for Downing, a 5-3 for Eckersley against a righty is a 4. It would have been a 5 against a lefty. A 4 gets a total of 9 in column 5. And a 9 in column 5 is a walk. That is a walk, so it's a 2-out walk to Downing, the number 9 hitter. That'll bring up Pat Kelly back to the top of the order. Pat Kelly left, and that's a 3-2-2. So a 3-2 for Kelly is a 2, and a 3-2 for Eckersley against a lefty is a 1. 3, and a 3 in column 3 is a dribbler to the catcher. And since there are already 2 outs, there is no decision about who to throw out. It's simply going to be a catcher to first ground out to end the inning. And the White Sox are done here in the second with no score. Still remains a 2-0 ball game as Wilbur Wood gets back on the bump. And he'll be facing former Oriole Boog Powell. Lefty on lefty matchup. Boog Powell made that infamous comment in 1975 when he got traded to the Indians. The Indians had this all-red uniform, and he said he looked like a big blood clot because Boog Powell was had a lot of girth, let's just put it that way. All right, here's Boog Powell. You say in the old days, they say he's big-boned. All right, it's a 2-1-6 for Powell. 2-1 is a 38, and 2-6 for Wood is a 4. So that is a 42 in column 2. And that's a ground out to short. And again, that would be an injury result. If we were playing injuries, Boog Powell would miss a game. But we're not doing that, so we just call it a simple ground out. And now player manager Frank Robinson steps to the plate. Frank Robinson, 1-3-3. So Frank Robinson, a 1-3 is a 30. And a 1-3 for Wood is a 3. That's a 3 in column number 1, and that's a walk. So Frank Robinson, veteran, coaxes. And that brings up one of my favorite service. A guy was from Ohio. Really did not like Charlie Spikes. But Charlie Spikes is an infamous Cleveland Indian. And here he is facing Wilbur Wood. It's a 3-2-5. 3-2 is a 2. And a 3-5 is a 3. So that is a total of 5 in column number 3. And that's a short fly to left for out number 2. So down goes Mr. Spikes. That will be up Ken Berry. So Ken Berry is the batter. And we get a 3-3-5. So Ken Berry, a 3-3. We've got the shaded area again, and that's going to send us to the ballpark chart. Ballpark card, I should say. Municipal Stadium. Column number 3. We're going to roll 1d6 and see the original 5 that's there. We'll take a peek ski and see if that happens. It's a 6, so that 5 2. 62. So it's a 62 now for Berry. And then the 3-5 for Wood was a 3. So that's a total of 65 in column 3. And a 65 in column 3 is a line drive single to center. Runners advance 2 bases. So Berry, thanks to the ballpark, gets a base hit, moves Frank Robinson to third. Runners at the corners with only 1 out for Alan Ashby, switch hitting catcher. We get a 6-3-6. 6-3 is a 31 for Ashby. 6-6 for Wood is a 4. That's a 35 in column 6. And that's a short fly to left, and the runners have to hold. But that's the third out anyway, so it doesn't matter. To left to end the inning. And the Indians leave a couple on base. We go to the third. Eckersley back out there. And he'll be facing George Orta, second baseman. Second baseman George Orta. And Orta got a double his last time up. It's a 5-2-1. Again, the 5s have a lot of walks in them. But this one may not be since it's a 1 here. George Orta got a 1 out of that. And a 5-1 for Eckersley against a lefty is a 1. That's a total of 2 in column 5. That's a ground out to first. Handled out there easily by the blood clot Boog Powell. He will make it. Take it to the bag himself. 1 away for Carlos May. He walked his first time up. 4-2-4. And again, column 4 is the fielding possibilities. So 4-2 for Carlos May is a 16. And 4-4 for Eckersley against a lefty. 4-4 is a second baseman, Dwayne Kuiper. Dwayne Kuiper, if we check his chart, Dwayne Kuiper is a 3 rated second baseman. So we add that to the 16, gives us a total of 19 in column 4. A 19 in column 4 is a ground out to the second baseman. Ground out to first for out number 2. Kuiper handles that one easily. And that'll bring up the DH, Darren Johnson. Darren Johnson, 1-3-3. So Darren Johnson, a 1-3 is a 2. And a 1-3 for Eckersley is a 1. So that's a total of 3 in column 2, and that's a strikeout. Anything 2 to 6 in both columns 1 and 2 result in a strikeout. So Eckersley puts the K on Darren Johnson to end the top of the third. Nothing in favor of the White Sox. And Frank, 9 hitter, only man not to bat in the ball game yet, steps to the plate against the knuckleballer Wilbur Wood. It's a 1-3-4. 1-3-4. 1-3-4. So Duffy, a 1-3 is a 3. And Wilbur Wood, a 1-4 is a 3. It's a total of 6 in column 1. And as we said before, that is a strikeout. 1 away. Mark, I did not know that. I knew they were friends. I knew Pete and Keith, kind of were cohorts. And they weren't competing against each other because they offered such different products. But that's interesting that Pete encouraged Keith Keith makes some interesting games. I actually have a couple of Play.com games. I've only actually played the baseball. I tinkered with hockey a little bit. I had the football game, never played it. Eventually I will at one point, but it just seems like it takes so long to play that. I never got the golf game either, because it seems like it takes so long. All right, so Duane Kuiper is up with 1 out and the base is empty. He flew to center his first time up. It's a 1-6 for Kuiper. 1-6 is a 45, and 1-4 for Wood. That's a total of 48 in column 1, and that's going to be a strikeout as the bases are empty. So 2 up, 2 down for Buddy Bell, third baseman. And Buddy, Mr. Buddy Bell, grounded to short his first time up. Oop, as he gets knocked over there. 4-2-5. 4-2 is a 1, and a 4-5 is the shortstop for the White Sox, Bucky Dent. And Bucky Dent, as we look at the White Sox cheat sheet, Bucky Dent is a 2. So a 2 and a 1 is a total of 3 in column 4. That's an easy ground out. No problem for Bucky. And the inning's over. The Indians go quietly in the third. We played 3 complete, and it's still 2-0 in favor of the White Sox. And Eckersley back out on the bump with Ken Henderson, switch-hitting center fielder who singled his first time up. We get a 4-5-2, and that's another fielding play with a red 4. So 4-5 is a 17, and a 4-2. 4-2 is a first baseman, Boog Powell. So we'll check Boog Powell, and Boog Powell is a 3, first baseman. So a 17 and a 3 is a total of 20 in column 4. And a 20 in column 4 is one of those results that I will show on the chart because it's a first base umpire check. When you roll a 20, you roll another D, 1 or 6, the batter's safe. Anything else, he is out. If you get a 21, of course, then the odds go in favor of the batter. But right now, the odds are in favor of the defense. You have to have a 1 or a 6 to beat this out. Anything else in the play will be made by Boog Powell. It's a 4, so Boog Powell not race to first base against Henderson. Henderson must have slipped or something to allow Boog Powell to beat him there. But he did, and there's 1 away. For Bill Melton, third baseman. And that's a 1-5-3. 1-5 is a 1, so we can pretty much Katie bar the door right there. When you get a 1 in column 1, it's an automatic strikeout because no matter what you add to it, it's going to still be within that 2 to 6 range, which is an automatic strikeout. So that's where this game can get sped up a little bit when you're familiar with it because you know, based on the batter roll, you know exactly what's going to happen. Here's Niles Nyman, the left fielder. He flew to left his first time up, and that is a 1-4-1. So 1-4 is a 5, and the 1-1 against a lefty is a 1. So that's a total of 6 in column 1, and that, again, is a strikeout to end the inning. Mark, I believe I got this off the I want to say I got this off the freebies site on the Replay website. I believe that's where I got that from. And that was a while back when I got that, but it is very convenient to have, and I can use my own score sheet instead of using the Replay score sheet, which I don't really like a lot because there's not a whole lot of room there for substitutions. But that's just my own score. Everybody's got their own scorekeeping system that they like, but that came off the free site. All right, so we're ready for the bottom of the 4th. Wilbur Wood facing Bucky Dent. And I'm sorry, not Bucky Dent. That's his own teammate. Cleveland's batting. My bad. I got to wake up here and drink more coffee, I guess. So it's actually George Hendrick, the center fielder, leading things off. And that's a 1-4-6. So 1-4 for Hendrick is a 35. A 1-6 for Wood is a 4. That's a 39 total in column 1. And a 39 column 1 is a ground ball to first. Taken to the bag himself is Carlos May. 1 away, and that'll bring up the blood clot, Boog Powell. Doubles as a tent in the offseason maybe with his clothing. He can rent out his clothes as a tent. All right, here is 6-1-5. So a 6-1 for Boog Powell is a 16, and a 6-5 for Wilbur Wood is a 3. That's a total of 19 in column 6. And that's a deep fly out to right field. Boog Powell got a lot of it, but not enough. And right field able to corral that in for out number 2. Brings up player manager Frank Robinson. He walked his first time up, but was stranded at third. All right, so 1-4 for Frank Robinson is a 5, and a 1-2 for Wilbur Wood is a 2. That's a total of 7 in column 1, and that's a pop up to second base to end the inning. Had there been a runner on third, there would have been a chance for a sacrifice fly, but with the bases not that situation, there's simply going to be a pop out. To end the inning, they go 1, 2, 3. And now Bucky Dent gets his chance to bat here against Eckersley. Bucky Dent took the strikeout his first time up. To 4-3-6, so we're back to the fielding check. 4-3 for Dent is a 25. And 4-6 for Eckersley against a righty is the third baseman, and that's Buddy Bell. So we'll check Buddy Bell, and Buddy Bell is a 3. So we add the 3 to the 25 that's already there for Bucky Dent. That's a 28 in column 4, and that's a bunt down the first base line. So we're going to roll 2 dice against the fielder's range. And if both dice are higher, the batter is out. Runners advance 1 base. If one of the dice is not higher, then it's an infield. He'll beat out the infield bunt. So Dent saw Buddy Bell back a little bit at third, try to drop 1 down. And remember, Bell is a 3, so if either of these dice come up as a 4, 5, or 6, then Bucky Dent will reach. If they're both 3 or less, then Buddy Bell will make the play. They're both 3 or less. It's a 1 and a 3, so Buddy Bell was able to come in there, one-handed, scoop it, and throw it to Boog Powell to nip Bucky Dent, who tried to be slick with that bunt, but didn't work out for him. Brings up Brian Downing, or as Chris Berman used to call him, Brian 10 Downing Street. Here's Downing, and Downing walked his first time up. It's a 1-2-5. 1-2 is a 2, so that's probably going to be a strikeout. 1-5 for Eckersley, we'll check it, is a 1. That's a total of 3, which is a strikeout. So when you get a 1 or a 2 in column 1, you're pretty much looking at a strikeout. So 2 outs, base is empty for leadoff hitter Pat Kelly. Kelly is 0 for 2. 4-6, so we're back to the fielding check. 4-4 is a 16. A 4-6 against a lefty is the shortstop, and that is Frank Duffy. Frank Duffy is a 1 rated shortstop. 1 with an E1. So it's a 1, and we add it to the 17, and that is a ground out. Handled out there by Duffy. And down go the White Sox here in the 5th. So the pitchers have had their way here lately. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's still 2-0, and the first inning has stood the entire game. And now good old Charlie Spikes back to lead things off here in the bottom of the 5th against Wilbur Wood. Spikes, 6-3-1. 6-3 is a 31, and a 6-1 is a 2. I'm sorry, 6-1 is a 1. So that's a total of 32 in column 6. And that's a pop-up to the third baseman, Melton, or 1 away. So the Indians just can't figure out that knuckleball from Wilbur Wood. He is baffling them right now. Wilbur Wood. Interesting line on Wilbur Wood. You won't see this. He was 16 on the season. Started 43 games through 291 innings. You won't see those kind of numbers these days. All right, Ken Berry. 2-5. 2-5 is a 3, so that could be a strikeout. We'll see. 2-5 is a 4, so that's a total of 7. So he avoids the strikeout, but he pops it up to second for out number 2. And the Indians having a hard time getting the ball out of the infield. They're striking out and popping up and grounding out. Here's Alan Ashby. Ashby a 2-3-5. 2-3 is a 2. And a 2-5 is 4. That's a total of 6 in column 2, and that's a strikeout. Down go the Indians here in the 5th. So nothing doing for the Indians in the 5th. We go to the top of the 6th. Still 2-0 ball game in favor of the White Sox. And that'll bring up George Orta to face Eckersley. Yeah, Al, Red Sox fan, with that knuckleball, he could kind of pitch anytime he wanted to. He didn't really need a whole lot of rest. So definitely doable there. He could start one game or leave another game or start both games of a doubleheader. So here's George Orta. He's doubled and grounded to first. It's a 1-4-5. Now 1-4 is a 35, and a 1-5 against a lefty is a 1. It's a total of 36. And a 36 in column 1 is a ground ball to third. So Buddy Bell easily handles that one away. Brings up Carlos May. I believe that's Lee May's little brother. Or he might be the older brother. I'm not 100% sure on that. Here's Carlos May. It's a 4-3-1, so we're back to a fielding check. 4-3 is a 2. Now, when you get a 2, you don't have to check anything else because anything 2 to 11 is a ground out automatically. So the most you could add to that would be a 5. So when you get a 2, the other fielder, who fielded it? That's the only thing you got to check. So a 1-4-1 is a first baseman. So Boog Powell will take it to the bag himself for out number 2. Out number 2, and that brings up Darren Johnson, the DH. Darren Johnson. And he's 0 for 2. He's grounded to first and struck out. That's a 5-6-3. 5-6 is a 2. And a 5-3 for Eckersley against a righty is a 4. That's a total of 6 in column 5, and that's a walk. So as we said, column 5 is where your walks will come from. And Eckersley, apparently, this is before he had the days of great control because you can see how high his numbers are in column 5. That means he had a lot of walks. So let's go now to Ken Henderson, the center fielder with a runner at first and 2 outs. Switch hitting center fielder, 1 for 2. It's a 2-2-6. 2-2 is a 55 with that raised 3 again. So there you go, back with that raised 3. It's a looping liner, and we need to check which fielder we're looking at. It's a blue 6, which means we're going to the right fielder this time. And the right fielder for the Indians is Charlie Spikes. And if we look at Charlie Spikes, I'll go ahead and pull his card out instead of messing around with that other thing. But Charlie Spikes, again, is only a 3 rated right fielder. So in order to make the play, he would have had to been a 4, 5, or 6. So that ball does drop in for a base hit. And with 2 outs, you get 2 bases on the advancement. So runners are at the corners with 2 outs, as the Indians outfielders did not have the greatest of range. And that brings up dangerous Bill Melton, third baseman. 2 outs, 2 on. Eckersley, this is another fielding chance. 4-5 is a 16. And a 4-5 against a righty is the third baseman, Buddy Bell. And as we've seen before, Buddy Bell is a 3 rated third baseman. So a 3 added to the 16 is a 19, and that's a ground out to end the inning. So Buddy Bell able to take care of that, no problem. And we've completed 5.5. Still 2-0 favor of Wilbur Wood and the White Sox. So now Frank Duffy will step up to the plate. He struck out his first time up against Wilbur Wood. All 4s. Look at that. 4-4-4. So Frank Duffy, this could be an error check because we have an 11 right here with a 4-4. And then for Wilbur Wood, shortstop, 4-4, Bucky Dent. And Bucky Dent is a 2. So we take the 2 and the 11 and give him a 13. And anything 12 to 16 is an error check. So we're going to roll against the error rating of Bucky Dent. And Bucky Dent's error rating is a 53. So if the red and white die total more than 53, we have an error. Anything less than 53, he'll make the play. And if the blue die is a 6, it's a 2-base error. It's a 14, so he makes the play. It's irrelevant. And 1 shortstop grounds to another for out number 1. Back to the top of the order, and Dwayne Kuiper. Yeah, Mark, I've heard some people complain about that, saying why isn't Why wouldn't 1 be the best for everything? I don't know the reason. That's just the way the game was produced. So if you can remember that 1 is better for infielders and 5 is better for outfielders, then you'll be straight. Here's Dwayne Kuiper. We got a 6-4-3. 6-4 is a 56 with an asterisk, and that has to do with base stealing if he reaches. But right now it's a 56. That's an unusual. I don't see a whole lot of 56s in column 6, but there it is. So that's a 56. 6-3 for Wood is a 2. That's in column 6. And a 58 in column 6 is a single to left. So now we will need to look at that asterisk. And we'll go to, I'm going to have to go to the book for this one. Pull up the result when there's an asterisk. Talks about base stealing. So it says here, let me get the book for you so you can see it for yourself. Assuming I can find the page. Here we go. All right. So as we can see, it says here a single asterisk. Roll 1 die against the pitcher's hold rating. If the die is higher, it's a stolen base. If not, the runner holds. So we're looking at the pitcher hold rating, and the pitcher hold rating for Wilbur Wood is a 3. So we're going to roll 1 die, and if it's a 4, 5, or 6, we have a stolen base. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, the runner has to hold. It's a 3, so the runner had to hold, as Kuiper did not get the jump. So he will just stay there with his single and be on first base with 1 out for Buddy Bell. Would have been nice to have the stolen base, but it didn't work out. So here's Buddy Bell. And it's a 1-6-2. And a 1-6 is a 45. That could be a double play possibility. 1-2 is a 3. That's a 48 in column 1. And with the runner on first base and the infield halfway, that's scored as a comebacker to the pitcher rather than a strikeout. So you get a chance for a double play. Let's see here. Oh, it says score. It's not even a chance. It says to score this as a double play back to the pitcher, who throws to second for the force out. Oh, and try for the double play. Let's see. Roll 1 die against the pitcher's defensive rating. All right, so the defensive rating for Wilbur Wood is a 2. Remember, 1's the best. 2 is pretty good. So we're going to roll 1 die, and as long as it's not a 1 or a 2, it will be a double play. So if he rolls a 1 or 2, it's a fielder's choice. 3, 4, 5, or 6, it's a double play. It's a 5, so it's a double play. Call it 1-6. Let's see, 1-6-3. 1-6-3 double play as Wood fielded his position flawlessly. And that's the end of the 6th as the Indians fail again to dent the scoreboard. And Eckersley back out there. He's got an SR rating. Let's talk about fatigue. He's got an SR rating of 7, or an S rating of 7. So he's still good right now. Wilbur Wood has the same effect. So we'll go ahead and keep it going with Niles Nyman stepping to the plate. And it's a 2-6-3. 2-6, and now we've got the ballpark coming into play because Niles Nyman on his 2-6, that's a raised number, but that number can now change based on the ballpark card. So it starts with a 2. But we check Municipal Stadium. We're going to roll 1 die on this looping drive and see if that number changes from a 2 to something else based on the D6. So, whoops, if I can put it in the box, that would help, wouldn't it? Let's try this again. That was a whiff. All right, it's a 4. So the 4 now changes that number to a 3. Remember, it was a 2. But now it's a 3 based on the ballpark, and as we've seen before, the Indians outfielders are not very good with the range factors. They need a range factor of somebody higher than 3. The blue dial is a 3, which is the center fielder, and we've already seen that the center fielder, Hendrick, is only a 3. So the ballpark is actually going to give Niles Nyman a base hit. Had it stayed a 2, Hendrick would have fielded it, but it dropped in. Yes, thank you, Mark, for bringing that to my attention. The secondary way of doing fatigue is the batter's face column. You see 29 here for Eckersley, and Wilbur Wood has 28. And Eckersley right now has faced a total of 25 batters, so he's still all right for now. Niles Nyman reaches on that little blooper, and Bucky Dent steps to the plate. 0 for 2 for Mr. Dent. It's a 6-6-3. 6-6 is a 7. 6-3 against a righty is a 2. That's a total of 9 in column 6. And a 9 in column 6 is a single to center field. Runner advances 1 base. So it's a single with a 1 base advancement. And now the third, they may be getting to Eckersley here. Runners at first and second. And this is batter number 27 he's facing, Brian Downing. He's only got a 1 bunt rating. But I think actually that's the best, isn't it? You look at the bunt chart here. Take a look here. Bunt chart. Where are you? Bunt chart, bunt chart. That's the action chart. I got to go to the actual fold-up book for the bunt chart. So let's look at the bunt chart and see what we got. 1 is actually one of the better ratings. So they're going to actually have Brian Downing bunt. And we go to the bunt chart. If I can fit this in here. The bunt chart with a 1 is being the best. And they've got 1 column with the infield in and 1 column with the infield back. But with them expecting the bunt, they're going to be considered to be in. We'll roll 2 D6s and see what happens. And also the blue die will tell you who fields it. All right. It is a 3 with a blue die of 1. The blue die of 1 is the pitcher. So Eckersley is going to field this thing. It's a 3. And the 3 says FC. I can get it up on the, I can't get this thing to fit. All right, 3 is FC plus error possibility. So fielder's choice with a possible error involved on this. So the fielder's choice possible error says fielder fields ball quickly but bobbles it. Roll against fielder's error rating. If higher, batter is safe on his error and runners advance 1 base. If not higher, he retires lead runner on a fielder's choice. Batter is safe. So we're looking at the error rating on Eckersley. He is a 54 error rating. So we're going to roll 2 dice. And if it's higher than 54, batter is safe on an error. If it's less than 54, then he'll get the force out at third base. It's a 26, so Eckersley able to do that. It's actually going to be a fielder's choice now. So Nyman is going to be out at third, call it 1-5. And Dent will go to second. Downing at first, so we're back to runners at first and second, but now there's 1 out. Hopefully, Mark, I did that correctly. If I didn't, please let me know. And Pat Kelly is up with 2 on and 1 out. Kelly at 5-2-6. 5-2 is a 27, and a 5-6 against a lefty is a 5 with a K there. So we got a 32 in column 5, and a 32 in column 5 is a fly out to left. Had there been a runner on third and the batter had a caret symbol, he would have been a sac fly, but neither of those cases came about. It's simply a fly to left for 2 down. So 2 outs and 2 on for George Orta. And now this is batter number 29. So Eckersley is his last batter to fit into his fatigue rating. So 1-1-4. So 1-1 for Orta is a 15. 1-4 for Eckersley is against a lefty is a 1. That's a total of 16 in column 1. And the 16 in column 1 is going to be an infield possibility of an error. All right, the blue die is a 4, which means the fielder is second base. So it says, hurry up, throw to first, may be wild. Roll against the error rating of the fielder. If the roll is higher, the batter's advance on an extra base. So Kuiper, if we look at his fielding rating for Kuiper, his fielding rating is a 45. So we're going to roll the dice, and if it's higher than 45, we have an error. It's a 32, so Kuiper did not throw the ball away. However, there is going to be an infield hit, and that will load the bases. So Orta beat it out. Bases are now loaded with 2 outs for Carlos May. And the Indians may be going to their bullpen for a lefty, and they will. So lefty specialist Don Hood is coming on. Part-time starter, part-time reliever. But he's really good against lefties, so, or better against lefties, I should say. So Don Hood is going to come on and pitch in place of Eckersley. So we'll make that notation that Hood is now in the ball game for Eckersley, but the runners on base are Eckersley's responsibility. 2 outs, bases loaded for Carlos May against Don Hood, and since May is a lefty, Hood will be looking off the blue shaded areas for Hood. We get a 3-2-4. 3-2 for Carlos May is a 29, and a 3-4 for Hood against a lefty is a 2. So it would have been a 3, now it's a 2. So it's 29 and a 2 is a 31 in column 3. 31 in column 3 is a line out to left field. And Don Hood gets the Indians out of the jam and keeps Eckersley from giving up any more runs against his tally. So we go to the bottom of the seventh inning stretch time. It is still 2-0 White Sox. Those 2 runs in the first have held up. You thought there'd be more scoring than this, but hasn't happened. All right, Eck remains fresh till he gives up a hit, walk, or faces number of batters equal to his innings weakness number. All right, I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Mark. But I wanted the lefty in there because Carlos May was up there. So I kind of took Eckersley out more for strategy than for fatigue, but that's certainly good to know to keep my freshness thing in my mind. Pardon the pun, but keep it fresh in my mind. So now Wilbur Wood will be leading things off against George Hendrick. Or I guess George Hendrick will be leading off against Wilbur Wood, however you want to say it. And Wilbur Wood's only faced 20 batters, so he's definitely good to go here for a while. Probably looking at a complete game as long as he doesn't give up anything. All right, it's a 5-5-4, so chance for a walk maybe. 5-5 for Hendrick is a 15. 5-4 for Wood is a 2. That's a 17 in column 5. It's actually going to be an infield, not an infield single. Yes, it is an infield single. I'll take it back. Infield single, and it says to check the action chart, column M, on the action chart for further action. So that result in the book is going to send us to the action chart. And there is an action chart right here. And it says column M. So if we look at column M, right here on the far right, there's chances here for wild pitches and balks and stuff like that. So I'm going to roll 2 D6s and check the action chart. I'll roll the blue die just in case it's needed. But it's a 7 on the red and white die. So a 7 on the action chart says a wild pitch, WP. So we go here, it says, if blue die is higher than the pitcher's wild pitch rating, all runners advance. Well, the wild pitch rating for Wilbur Wood is a 3. The blue die was a 6, so therefore it is a wild pitch. So Wilbur Wood uncorks the wild pitch, and Hendrick ends up at second base with nobody out for Boog Powell. So that does take away the double play possibilities. Here's Boog Powell. It's a 1-3-1. That's not good. 1-3 is a 2. That's probably a strikeout. And a 1-1 is a 2. That's a 4. So that is a strikeout. Boog Powell with the whiff. And there's one away. So it's up to Frank Robinson maybe to get something going here. Player manager. Frank Robinson. It's a 6-5. 6-5 is a 31. And a 6-2 for Wood is a 2. That's a 33 in column number 2. And that's a pop up to second. 4 out number 2. So Frank Robinson couldn't get it done. So the venerable erstwhile Charlie Spikes steps to the plate against Wilbur Wood. Fielding check because we got a 4 here. So it's a 4-6. I'm sorry, 4-3 is an 11. And a 4-6 is the second baseman. Second baseman is George Orta. And George Orta is a 3 rated second baseman. So we add the 3 to the 11 from Spikes. And we get a 14, which is an error check. Anything 12 to 16, you check for an error. The error rating for Orta is a 51. So if it's a 51 or higher, we have an error. It is. It's a 66, and not only is it higher, the blue die is a 6, which means it's a 2-base error. So on the 2-base error, Hendrick will come around to score, and Spikes reaches second base on the 2-base error by Orta, and that puts the Indians on the scoreboard, unearned run, but it's a 2-1 ball game now. And Wilbur Wood not too happy with Mr. Orta. But that can happen. It's now a 2-1 ball game, and here's Ken Berry with Spikes at second. He's the tying run. And we get a 6-3-2. And a 6-3 is a 31. A 2 is a 33. And again, 33 is a pop out to second. And in fact, if the batter gets a 31, it's an automatic out anyway, because anything you add 1 to 5 is going to be either a fly out or a pop out. So that ends the inning. The Indians at least dent the scoreboard with an unearned run. After 7 complete, it is the White Sox 2 and the Indians 1. And Don Hood's going back out there. They have, well, actually, they got a whole lot of right-handers coming up, so Don Hood's going to come out. He did his job. He pitched the one batter and got that right-hander out. And now they're going to turn to right-hander Tom Buskey. So Tom Buskey, the right-hander. Al was Pete Rose's last player manager. As far as I know, he's the last manager. I don't know if anybody else needs. It's not something you're going to see, I don't think, these days. But he probably was, knowing him. It used to be common back in the old days, but not back in the 40s and 50s and stuff. I think it was very common, but not since the 80s. All right, so Darren Johnson will be facing Tom Buskey. Let me write Buskey in there as the relief pitcher, and he'll be facing Darren Johnson. However, the White Sox might go to their bench for a lefty because Johnson's the DH, so it really doesn't matter about the fielding. They just want a lefty batter in there, maybe. So they're going to go to their bench and counter that move to Buskey with a move of their own. Tony Muser, the lefty, is going to take over as the DH and pinch hit, of course, in this spot here in the 8th. All right, here we go. Tony Muser, pinch hitter against the new pitcher Buskey. All the wheeling and dealing going on, and you end up with a fielder's check. 4-3 is a 1, so that's an automatic out. You don't have to go any further. You just need to figure out who fielded it. That would be the third baseman, Bell, so it's a 5-3 ground out. So Tony Muser fails in his pinch hitting duties. That brings up Ken Henderson, switch hitter. Henderson's 2 for 3. Oh, almost knocked himself over there. 1-5-2. 1-5 is a 35, and that's an automatic out too because everything else is a ground out. So it's a 1-2 is a 4, so that's a 39, which means it's a ground ball to first. So they're automatic outs, but then you just have to check and see who fielded it. But if you're just looking for outs and not worry about who fielded it, then you can just stop right there and call it an out. But I always put in the right fielder. Not the right fielder, but the correct fielder, because I like to be accurate. Here's Bill Melton. 6-2. 6-2 from Melton is a 9. That's problematic. 6-2 is a 9. 6-5 is a 3. That's a total of 12 in column 9. And a 12 in column 9 is a probable home run. There is one caveat. If I can bring this in. There is a chart here when there's 11 or a 12. When it's an 11, you roll 1d6. And if you roll a 1 through 5, it's a single. A 6, it's a home run. But when the result's a 12, it's always a home run unless you roll a 1 on a d6. So I'm going to roll 1d6, and if it's a 1, then it's just going to be a single. If it's anything other than a 1, Bill Melton will go yard against Mr. Buskey. It's a 4, so it's a home run for Bill Melton. I called him the dangerous Bill Melton earlier, and that's the reason why. Sneak up with that power. He slugged .359, so not too bad for 1975. And the Indians grab a 3-1 lead now. Here's Niles Nyman. Back to a fielding check. 4-4 is a 2, so we know he's going to be out. 4-2 is the second baseman Kuiper, so Kuiper will make the play. And the inning's over, but Bill Melton with a big insurance run on that blast. And it's a 3-1 ball game as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Wilbur Wood still going strong. He's only faced 25 batters right now. Here's Alan Ashby. Ashby, a 6.56. 6.5 is a 36, and whenever you get a 36 in column 6, you can stop right there. Whenever you get a 36 in column 6, it's an automatic strikeout because in the book range, 37 to 41 is a strikeout. So anything you add to 36 will create a strikeout. So that's another example where you don't even have to check the pitcher. you can just know it's a strikeout. So Ashby is gone. And guys that strike out a lot will have 36s in their 6 column. Particularly the pitcher hitting cards have a lot of 36s in column 6. All right, here's Frank Duffy. He's 0 for 2. And that's a 1-3-3. 1-3 is a 3. And a 1-3 for Wilbur Wood is a 3. That's a 6. And we know that in column 1, anything 2 to 6 is a strikeout. So Frank Duffy takes the whiff. And that brings up Dwayne Kuiper. And the White Sox bullpen may get a day off today the way Wilbur Wood is pitching. Although they do have Terry Forster and Goose Gossage in their bullpen. Here's Kuiper. It's a 1-1-5. 1-1's a 25. 1-5 is a 3. That's a 28 in column 1. And a 28 in column 1 is a single off the pitcher's glove and a potential error. It says pitcher recovers but may throw wildly, roll against pitcher's error rating. If the roll is higher, the batter advances an extra base. Well, the error rating on Wilbur Wood, as we've seen before, is a 62. So we're going to roll the 2d6s. If they're higher than 62, we got an error. Anything else, Wilbur Wood will not make an error, but the batter will reach on a single. And that's the case because it's a 23. So Kuiper with a single. He's on board. That brings up the tying run to the plate and Buddy Bell. So Buddy Bell with a chance. Buddy Bell. This is batter number 29 right here. Well, actually 28's on Wilbur Wood's thing, so this is 29. So if he gives up anything else, he's going to get his point of weakness or be weak. 3-4-1. 3-4 for Bell is a 30. And a 3-1 for Wood is a 1. That's a 31 in column 3. And that's a line out to left to end the inning. So nothing doing for the Indians here in the 8th. We go to the top of the 9th. Still a 3-1 ball game in favor of the White Sox. Tom Buskey still in there to face Bucky Dent. So Bucky Dent steps to the plate. That's a 2-1-1. 2-1 for Bucky Dent is a 43. And this is going to probably be really good for him because look at that. That's a 5 on that raised number, and that does not change. So we know that nobody on the Indians has that rating that high. So that's going to drop in for a base hit. If we go to 43 in column number 2, let's see here. I'm sorry, column number, what am I misreading here? Why is that a 43 and a 5? Hold on, folks. Let me double check this. Something ain't adding up, as they say. Because 43 is going to put him in the ground out specialties. So I'm not sure what that raised number is all about. Why they would have a raised number there. Mark, if you have any input on that, I'd appreciate hearing that. Not sure why Bucky Dent is given a 43 with a 5 rating when 43 puts everybody in the ground out. So I don't know. There's got to be something I'm missing there as to why there's a raised number. But I'm just going to play it as is. Don't know what else to do with it. 43. 2-1 is a 43, and a 2-1 for the pitcher is a 4. It's a 47. 47 in column number 2 is shortstop. So I don't know why that raised number. Oh, it's for injuries. Okay. Injuries. Anything in there for injuries? Let's see here. There's an asterisk there. No. It talks about why batter. Okay, well, I'm not doing injury, so it's irrelevant anyway in this case. So it's simply going to be a ground out to the shortstop. But thank you, Mark, for that clarification. But it's a basic ground out to short. And there's one away. For Brian Downing, I just want to make sure I didn't, something just wasn't adding up, like I say. But so we go to Brian Downing. And I don't usually play with injuries because I usually play as played if I'm doing this, so that's why I'm not that familiar with the injuries. All right, so 6-2-4. Brian Downing is 6-2 is a 7. That's probably going to be a base hit. In fact, it will be a base hit, not probably. 7 and a 6-4 for Buskey is a 3. That's a 10 in column 6, and that's a solid single to center field. Had Buskey had a 5 rating or so, that would have been a chance for a little bit more than just a single, but the single, they'll take it. And that brings up Pat Kelly. Okay, gotcha, Mark. That means he could possibly bypass an injury, it looks like. So that's a good idea. If you got somebody that plays a lot and doesn't get injured, it's good to have a bypass on that. All right, so after the Downing single, we got Pat Kelly, and that's a 3-3-4. 3-3 is a 14. 3-4 is a 2. Total of 16 in column 3, and a 16 in column 3 is a triple to right center field. Had he been able to use the 1, that would have been a line out to second, but that went from 15 to 16, which turned it to a triple. With 1 out and either a right fielder or a center fielder with a 5 arm, it scored as a double, not a triple. There is 1 out. Let's see if any of the right fielder or center fielder has a 5 arm. I highly doubt it. Let's see here. Their arms. No, nobody has an arm that big. 3 is the best arm they got. So the triple is going to stand. Pat Kelly just laced a triple to score Brian Downing and give the White Sox an extra insurance run. It's now 4-1. And they're going to have to bring the infield in. And I don't know if they're going to bring in a new pitcher or not because George Orta is coming in, so they will go to the bullpen. Lefty on lefty, they're going to bring in Dave LaRoche. So Dave LaRoche, it may be too little too late, but they don't want any more runs coming across if they can help it. So Mr. Buskey will hit the showers. Pitcher of the game comes in. Again, they have no choice against George Orta with a runner at third and 1 out, already trailing 4-1. Roche against Orta, 1-1. 1-1's a 15, and a 1-3 is a 1. It's a 6. That's an infield single plus a potential error, so the run's going to score regardless of the error. Use that. So that makes it a 5-1 game. Now let's check for an error. The blue die is a 3, which means the error check goes to the catcher. So it's topped off the catcher. Hurry up, throw, maybe wild. Roll the catcher's error rating. The catcher in this case for Cleveland is Ashby. His error rating is a 44. So we're going to roll 2 dice and see if they're higher than 44. If they are, it'll be an error. And it is 55. So Ashby, Mark, you can let me know blue die to see if it's a 2-base error. It's a 6. Well, it's not. Whether I needed to do that or not, that was a question. But it wasn't. Call it an E throw. The airman ordered a second base for Carlos May against LaRoche. It's a 2-1-3. 2-1's a 35, and a 2-3 is a 1. It's a 36 in column 1. It's a ground ball to third. The infield was back because it's runner at second. Runners advance. All right. So even though it went to third, rounder and but throw him out, but or to third base with 2 outs. Tony, who came into DH for because bother with pitcher now. Not but always like to ask. All right, Muser 65 is a 36, and as we said, you can stop right there. It is a shout, no doubt about it. Runs come in. It's a 5-1 ball game. Now the question is, do they let finish it out, or do they go to their bullpen, of which get Terry Forster or? All right, thank you. Only column 4 you do that check for the base error. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. They're going to let Wilbur Wood see if he can't finish what he started. George Hendrick. Learn something about this. I'm doing it. So George Hendrick back and faced. So I'm thinking if he gets anything that get to his point of weakness. So 3-3 is a 5. That's in the ballpark factors. So factors. And this column 3, which is an out or a single based on the rolls. We're going to see if that number changes. Right now it's a 5. That's a 1, so that changes it down to a 2. So it went from 5 to a 2. For him, we had a 3-4 for Wood, which is a 3. So plus the 2 gives him a total of 5 in column B, and that's a short fly to left. So that time the ballpark cost him from a complete game. Here's Boog Powell. 5-3-4-6. 5-4 for 8 in column. And that is a walk, as you might expect. 5 walks. That's only the second walk. Wood. One away. That'll bring up Franklin. And Mark, if you can let me know, he's reached a weakness now, I think, because of that. But I'm not sure what that does with this point of weakness. Does he go to his B grades now automatically? One walk, something more than that. Not 100 on that. I think he goes to his B grades. Thing. He probably does. That's what he means. So Chuck Henner may also be thinking of the bullpen here. Rich Gossage, the good Wilbur Wood will exit. He won't be able to get his complete game because I believe that one walk to his B grade. So Rich Gossage is in. It's not a situation yet. Chuck Tanner makes to Goose. So Goose Gossage is in to face Frank Robinson. Robinson is going to make the smart managerial move and pinch hit. So he will leave, and they'll go to a better hitter in a whole lot. They're going to go to Oscar Gamble. Pinch hitter for Frank Robinson. So Frank Robinson doing the ultimate in humility by pinch hitting for himself. And Oscar Gamble is the new pinch hitter and would stay in the game if the game happened to go extra. All right, we got a leaner, so I'm going to re-roll it. Walk. 5-3 is a 6A, and that A could come into play if he reaches base. So 5 is a 5 against the is a 3. Column 5 is a walk. Now, let's see here. There's no raised number. It's just a letter. So walk. And that will put us at front. And we'll see what that A on the part. Talks about as a runner second. So the way I play it, it may not be right, but the way I play it, block any stolen base chances. Also, you expect them to do any kind of a stolen base. Ignore that result since first base, second base, and Mark, you can let me call it that. So Charlie Spikes, he's only hitting 229, so he's coming out. Carty is going to pinch hit. Rico Carty will pinch hit for Charlie Spikes as Frank Robinson trying to do all he can to keep this going. Here's Rico Carty. I used to call him Ricola, like that cough drop commercial. All right, so it's a 4-2-5. 4-2 is a 1. That's not good news. 4-5 against a righty is the third baseman, so that's going to be Melton. And Bill Melton of 4. I'm sorry, because they were double play depth. So a 2-6 means play, and that's the ball game. So it's on the horn, double play, and the ball. All right, that's what I thought with the runner on second base. So that double play ends the ball game. The Whites beat the Indians by the score of the loss. No save to Gossage because they had a 4-run lead, but still didn't want to mess around once Wilbur Wood. So I wanted to play a game of replay baseball because I haven't done one in a while, and I like to see different games rather than seeing Strat all the time. Nothing wrong with Strat, don't get me wrong, but sometimes variety, as they say, is a spice of life. The other games out there, you don't have these, as they say, like replay baseball. Some people aren't that familiar with it, so if I can show it off a little bit and give it some attention. That thank you for watching. Video, not to, because I don't want to have overkill on. I did record a 1987 Braves against the Reds at some point. Don't know when. Might not be today. But I am doing that. And of course, I'm trying to get my May Madness games in. Got a game in last night that featured, or actually it was yesterday on the video, I think it was, wasn't it? With the Cubs and the Red Sox. So between all those is keeping me busy and giving me a lot of and playing the rules that just stuck to one game. I like the variety, payoff pitch, status pro. I like this game replay, of course. Stratomatic, you can't go wrong there either. But like I said, too much of a good thing can be, you want to necessarily have all. Sometimes it's good to have those, the variety that's. And like I said, Mark, if you want to check the free site on replay.com where it's freebies or whatever it's called, I think it's called Baseball Freebies. Within that menu, somebody has put this out there for reasons, I think. I originally 75. That's where I got that from. One other thing I will mention about Replay Baseball for anybody that played it or whatever, the quality of the cards. The quality of cards are second to none. No game company that I know of makes cards as solidly printed on stock paper and look as good as the Replay cards. Payoff Pitch does a good job, but Replay to me is head and shoulders above everything. The card, and they've done a lot to improve left-right splits, ground balls, and things like that. You know, some people can say it's a little cumbersome to play because you're always going to the chart book, but they also PC version, and that's how I learned the game was on the PC version, and then I switched to the board game. But now that I play the board game, it helps me understand a little bit better. But I also have this on the PC, so one thing you can do if you've got both on the cards and PC is play the games, put the stats into the computer game. Helps you keep track of the stats. So it's about 12:30 Eastern here on Saturday afternoon. I do appreciate you guys, some of you that tuned in to watch, and hopefully you enjoyed the version of Replay put out. Mark, I especially appreciate you there to make I didn't make any blunders and verified what I was doing to make sure correct. Because like these games off and on, sometimes I don't always catch all the little nuances. So I definitely appreciate the input there. There will be more May Madness. There will be more 87 Braves. Once I get past May Madness, I'm going to probably put aside for a little while. And I want to get people's opinion too, because I don't know how many people, I can find it here, I don't like or follow. But the good thing about History Baseball is it's very easy to create your own cards. So what I did is I went to my banks back in the 2002. We actually had a triple team here in Richmond called the Richmond Braves. They were a AAA team of the Atlanta Braves. And I used to be a season ticket holder to them, so I definitely remember the 2002 season very well. So what I did is I made up, at least so far, I've made 2 teams, but I might make more. I made up the Richmond Braves and the Durham Bulls on the History Maker cards and just took the stats they had and used their player creation and made those. You see guys you're familiar with, Carl Crawford, Jared Sandberg. Let's see who. Well, Brian Hunter is a former Brave. And let's see, is there anybody pitching-wise? Probably not. But then I also made the umpire cards, some old programs and media guides, and was able to get the names of the umpires, the international too. Some of those made it to the major leagues. I think James Hoy is a major league umpire. Let's see who else is a major league umpire. I'm sure there's more if I can find them. Justin Clem maybe. I'm not sure. Dan Iasonia, I believe, is a umpire. Might be some more in there. I don't know. But I was thinking about either doing fictional set, the minor league set. So I have to figure out which one would be more interesting to do, along with the Braves, of course. But I really want to delve into History Maker Baseball, play baseball once the May Madness is up, put Stratomatic to the bench for a while because I've been playing that for so long. Heavy into that, and so they can certainly satisfy your Stratomatic itch for that. But going on for an hour and 20 minutes now, so I guess that's long enough for a video. this later date. Get you viewing in as well. And I don't know if I'm going to do anything else today or not. I have to find out or figure things out. It might be something from Hitmaker Baseball, not 100 to see that you haven't seen in a while. So let me know that, and I will do my channel. Till next. Hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Don't stay. Still living, then either call or visit her and make you get her something so that she will be happy. Because when mama's not happy, nobody's happy, as the old